Good morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity. So am I. So it is. Whoever you are, whatever path brought you here today, know that you are welcomed and celebrated. We know who you are. You are an individualized expression of the divine life in which we all live. We are life's opportunity to be someone unique and wonderful. So you are welcome to be part of this community in whatever way serves you. Here's our vision statement. We are a strong, open, globally connected community centered on the clarity of principle through teaching, service, and practice. We create a safe and respectful environment that supports healthy spiritual growth. And for a better understanding of who we are, what we teach, listen to our Declaration of Principles as written by our founder, Ernest Holmes.
A few of the declaration of principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful, hey.
So it is. So a practitioner is someone who's demonstrated the ability to use spiritual laws and practice to bring about great changes in their lives. And they've also demonstrated that they know how to do this with others when asked. Licensed by the Centers for Spiritual Living, they're available to you to provide spiritual guidance and support in those areas where you need or you're looking for assistance. And you can contact them through our website, cslmidtown.org. Today, we've got one of our amazing practitioners to share good ideas and an affirmative prayer called the Spiritual Mind Treatment. Welcome, the practitioner for this morning, Norma Roberts. Welcome, Norma.
Thank you so very much, Vance. You're just the greatest. You are. And good morning to all of you. It's so very good to be here and share with you today. You know, we have a Science of Mind magazine that has such inspiring messages, and I've chosen one I would like to share with you today. The message is quite long, so I've only taken interesting excerpts from it. The title is Interbeing, Interconnected, Intertwined. I like this article because it speaks of our oneness with all. And then all doubt is changed to faith. You know, Ernest Holmes says, the more completely we are able to see God in everything, the more completely will the one God in all things respond to us. This article goes on to tell us our beliefs, thoughts, and actions have power and are created in all that we see. But this creation does not occur in a vacuum. I do not create separate from you, or separate from all of life. Instead, my creation is intertwined with everything. Understanding our interbeing creates an awareness that what I give to the universe impacts not only me and not only you, but everything. When we fully grasp this, not just in our brains, but in our whole being, we can begin to understand the magnitude of our connection. The interbeing, the connection, means the decisions in our lives not only support us individually, but also supports justice, peace, love, and equality in the lives of others. Reciprocity does not say I'm going to give so I can get, or I'm going to take because there may not be enough, or even you get to have this, but only if you can prove your worth. Instead, this principle of reciprocity says when we all bring what we have to the table, everyone will be fed. So now I invite you to join me in treatment, after which we will have reflection music. So I ask you just to relax, close your eyes if you like, and just accept for yourself any part that resonates with you. And know that as I speak in the first person, I speak as you. So join me now in knowing there is but one life, love, peace, one source. That source is God. That source is the intelligence I am right now. Therefore, I know. Awareness am I. Awareness is the I am that I am. I am the awareness of perfect God as perfect expression. I am the expression of perfect health where there appears to be illness. I am the awareness of perfect harmony where there appears to be conflict or disorder. I am the awareness of infinite and abundant prosperity where there appears to be lack or limitation of any nature. I am guided, guarded, sustained, and maintained by the perfection of my source. Awareness am I. Perfect peace am I. Total and complete manifestation of abundant good am I. Anything in me that may have caused me to believe I was separated from my source or from my good is totally uprooted, eradicated, dissolved, vanished, gone forever. It is no longer a function of my experience. Therefore, with great thanksgiving, I now enjoy freedom in every area of my life because I have the consciousness of dominion. Nothing is impossible for me to accomplish because I am the knower and the doer of the divine thing itself. My awareness is my faith, and I affirm that God is my indwelling presence. God is all, therefore, everything in my life is good, and so it is.
All right. So that was appropriate for this morning. So our speaker this morning is Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski. He's got a master's in consciousness from the Holmes Institute, a doctor of divinity from the Emerson Institute, and he's an ordained religious science minister and considers himself a lifelong student of transformational leadership. Robert's passionate about building spiritual community in the physical and virtual worlds. And we've had him here before, so welcome back, Dr. Robert.
Thank you, Vance. And thank you, dear ones, for having me back and inviting me here today. This is such a rich topic, and I am so excited to explore this with you today. Everything has absolutely been perfect so far. The music selection is absolutely perfect. Norma, your prayer, absolutely perfect for what we're doing today. And it leads me into where I want to jump into this topic. We're talking about doubt, right? The title of the talk is The Silence We Agreed to Keep, What We Don't Say in Church. And the theme about all of this is our doubt. Now, I'm just a couple months shy of the very first time I walked into a Science of Mind church. And yes, we were called churches back then. And I want to invite you, if you can remember that far back, I know many of you have a rich history with this philosophy and teaching. Remember back to when you first started attending a New Thought community. There's this phrase we use, and so it is. And when I first walked into a community, I heard this, and I imagine this is true for so many. My mind was like, what? I don't, what are you talking about here? And so it is. I don't get this. And if you don't jump into classes right away, and a lot of people don't, and that's fine, it takes a little while for our human conditioning to go beyond what we've always been taught. Like many, I was taught that prayer ended with a simple phrase, amen. I'd never heard this "and so it is" thing, and it made me start to doubt. What? Who are these people? Why don't they end their prayer with amen? And it took a little while to come to a deeper understanding that the affirmation of "and so it is" is part of breaking down the old conditioning and allowing us to open up to something new. With just under 25 years since that experience, I've gotten to see a lot of communities and a lot of people that sit in the pews or the chairs and sort of believe what we say and sort of believe what we teach, but they might also have a whole lot of evidence that this stuff doesn't work for them. And they're going through the motions because, well, they like the people. They like potluck on Sundays. They like the community that we create, but secretly don't really believe what we say we believe. Most dangerous thing I have seen in a spiritual community isn't heresy. It's the performance of certainty by people who stopped believing years ago and just never told anyone. For many months now, I've been talking a lot about our ability to perform. And that really what New Thought teaches is that we must be the presence over the performance. We need to be the presence of the divine here on planet Earth over the performance of it. So if somebody says something in church or in your center or in a conversation that you don't understand or that you don't agree with, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a sacred conversation around that. It's in the silence where communities come to die. It's when we're not willing to talk with the person who's sitting next to us that says, hey, I got a hard time understanding this. Or, I love you, but I really don't like holding hands and singing this song that I don't know the words to at the end of every Sunday. That one took me a little while to get used to, too. It's hard. Our mind doesn't want to agree with an idea that says there is peace on earth when we can look at the news or look out our window and see the violence and see the anger and see the wars that are raging. And it is very natural for our humanness to open to the doubt. I want to be really clear today. I've got a couple examples I want to share with you. And throughout those, I want you to remember that the divine is not threatened by your doubt. Really, the only question is whether we can stop pretending that we have doubt. Now, I hope this hasn't happened to you, but I know it has to me and to others, that in a class or maybe at the potluck after or the discussion following, and we're going to get together today at Zoom following this talk and have a discussion, that if you express doubt in a principle or in how something works, then people immediately get shut down as being negative or oh, you've just got to affirm, you just got to stay positive, you just got to. No. Sometimes I go through that doubt, and what it does is actually deepen my faith. The divine isn't threatened by your doubt. So I would like to share a little story with you. I still haven't figured all of this one out, but maybe we'll figure it out in the discussion later. And I was taught in ministerial school that, when something weird happens or something big happens in your life, you don't rush out on Sunday morning and talk about it. You wait a little while till you get the lesson. Yeah, sometimes you need to talk about it too to get the lesson. So if you understand what I'm about to share with you and you have an answer for me, and can help me understand this a little better, please come and hang out in the Zoom room with us. If you're online or watching on YouTube or any of that, or if you're already in the Zoom room, I want to process this one with you a little. It starts about 2-3 months ago, and my car starts running a little rough. When I turn it on, it kind of doesn't want to get all the power it should right away. And last September, I was on a road trip and I ran into a gentleman at a roadside rest area, and he asked me about my car. And I said, yeah, I love it. He said, yep, that's the best engine. That's the last great engine that Ford made for motor vehicles, for cars. Ford now is all trucks or Mustangs. And I said, I love it. He goes, yeah, all you really got to do is change the spark plugs once in a while, and it should last you a couple 100,000 miles. I had, about 110 on it, so I'm thinking I'm good for a while. So a couple months ago, the car starts running a little rough, and I flash back to that inspiration that gentleman gave me, and I went, all right, time to change the spark plugs. So I have the spark plugs changed, and the shop I go to, they want to sell me a whole bunch of stuff, brakes and tires and every other thing they can think of that I might want to buy. No, I'm good. Just the oil change. And let's do the oil change because I have to go on a road trip. I'm going to drive this vehicle over to Kansas City, Lee Summit, Missouri, exactly, to Unity Village. Now, I sit on the board of the International New Thought Alliance, as well as a few other boards, and we don't need to get into all that. So we have our 111th Congress scheduled for the first week in May, and I'm going to drive over and do video and do all the things that I do. So the spark plugs and the oil change should be enough. The car runs like a dream all the way to Kansas City. Not a problem. Actually, my gas mileage is going up, and I gained like almost two miles per gallon on the drive over there. I'm thinking, yep, spark plugs, I'm good. Life is grand. Now, I didn't have to drive the car very much during the week, so no problems. And come Sunday morning, we go to church, and it's a wonderful experience, and everybody's getting done, and I'm excited to get back on the road because it's Mother's Day, and I want to get home and see my wife before my head hits the pillow, and at least give her a kiss for Mother's Day before I fall asleep. Well, about 200 miles into the drive, or not even, it starts running rough again. Now it's running really rough. And now the engine light comes on. And it's blinking, which is never a good thing for an engine light. And so I Call my wife. We find a town ahead of me that has a room in a hotel and has a number of different shops. And it's a Sunday, so I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting in anywhere early. And early Monday morning, I take the car to a shop. They do a diagnostic. We think it's one thing, and okay, let's do that. $650, and several hours later, I'm back on the road for about 20 miles. And then it comes back again. Now, I'm a good metaphysician. I've been doing my prayers. I've been doing my affirmations. I've been visualizing my car running perfectly all the way back to Denver. And yeah, I might not get home until really late Monday night instead of early in the evening on Sunday, but it's okay. We changed the spark plugs. We got another 100,000 miles on this. But when it starts running rough again, the doubt started to set in. Well, I find another town, Salina, Kansas, actually. If you've ever been there, it's pretty much right in the middle of the state. It's only about 60 miles from the exact geographic center of the United States. And I pull into a Ford dealership. But it's 3:00 in the afternoon, and they're not going to get to look at it till the morning. So off we go to another motel for the night. Now, the interesting part about this whole story is Salina, Kansas had had a hailstorm about 2 weeks earlier. And so they didn't have any loaner cars at the Ford dealership that they could let me borrow and take while they looked at the vehicle. So they shuttled me around. Next morning, they call. Good news, Mr. Brzezinski. We think it is just bad spark plugs. And you got a set of bad spark plugs. So we want to change the spark plugs. And we think we'll have you on the road within an hour or two. Yippee! Right on. Good news. A couple hours later, good news turns to bad news. I imagine we've all heard the story of the Buddhist monk whose horse gets stolen and whose son and the horse brings back some stray mares, and the son breaks his leg on the horse, and the army takes all the young men, but his leg is broken. Good news, bad news. Who can tell? So good news becomes bad news, and the engine needs replacement. And I'm in Salina, Kansas. Wonderful people in Salina. So the doubt sets in again. Here I am, doing the good work of the divine, supporting the New Thought movement with my ministry, with my life, and I'm about to be left stranded in Salina. Because remember that hailstorm I told you about? Well, all the insurance companies came to town and rented all the rental cars to give to their people whose cars were in the shop from the hailstorm. And there wasn't a single vehicle to rent anywhere in Salina. Not even a U-Haul truck. And there I am, stuck in Salina with a dead vehicle. Now, my wife, being the amazing woman she is, decides on Tuesday afternoon, I'll get in the car and I'll come get you. And she jumped in our other vehicle, drove 6.5 hours. We got 5 hours of sleep, jumped back in our car, and drove home to Denver. The midst of all of this, we're in the process of moving our home. So the doubt is real. How is it that the divine, how is it that God would curse me with a car that dies when I need it the most? Would put me 3 days behind schedule when I need this time the most? But remember, the divine is not threatened by our doubt. Because what our doubt does is it strengthens my faith. There's a Geico commercial from about 10 years ago or so. A group of elderly women are sitting around talking, and one of them says something about posting a picture on her wall. And the camera cuts over to the physical wall in her home, with all kinds of pictures and things posted on it. And her two friends are like, that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. And I remember that commercial so well, because whenever I begin to doubt, I am reminded that the doubt is reaffirming the truth. The doubt is not how it works, but the doubt points us to how it works. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote that to deny the truth in our hour of need is the supreme time to do this work. When things look the darkest, when our mind is saying, why me, God? That is the supreme time to do this work. And not as performance, but as presence. Now I can tell you, sitting in Salina, Kansas, there were more than a couple times I was not exactly happy. The rental car agencies would take a reservation online and then call you 20 minutes later and say, I'm sorry, I don't have a car. So why'd you take my reservation? The people would try to help and it would turn out horribly. I actually spent 2 hours with a salesman seeing if maybe I'll just buy a car. Let's trade this thing in. Let's pretend the motor runs. It was running when I brought it in here. Let's trade this in and buy a car. And they were doing their best. And it would have been really easy to get into my humanness and get a little grumpy with the people that were trying. But our presence says no. Our presence says, watch for the miracle. There's got to be a miracle in here somewhere. Now, I still don't know what that miracle is. The shell of my car is still sitting on that dealer lot in Salina. I'm still trying to find somebody that'll give me something for it. And I'm down a car while we're looking for a new home as we're getting ready to move. It's really easy to get into that place that says, this ain't working. This ain't how any of this is supposed to work. Come on. I got letters in front of my name and letters behind my name. That's got to count for something, right? Now is the time for me specifically. And if you can relate to any of this in any way, then I know there's some story in your life, or there's about to be, where you might want to say, why me, God? And here's why, and here's the why. Because who you are matters. And how you show up makes a difference. And when you walk into the supermarket and remember that people wear name tags so that you can praise who they are and use their name, not just remember who to complain about at the counter. When you take the time to learn a little more about the people around you. There was a wonderful woman who needed to get her car detailed and was having it done at the dealership there. And rather than get a shuttle or an Uber home and back and forth, she had brought her crafting stuff. And she was sitting at this high table and had spread out her crafting stuff and was doing some crafting. And we had an amazing conversation. We may never talk again. But in that moment, in that time, she asked me what I did. Well, that's a great question. And we got to talk a little bit about New Thought. And we got to talk a little bit about faith. And we got to, and she actually said to me, if I was you, I'd be PO'd right now. You know, I am a little bit, yeah. but my faith is bigger than my doubt. The doubt is real. Pretending it isn't is the silence that kills communities. But the faith, it's okay. God's got my back in this. I thought it would be easy, and I just rent a car and drive home. I didn't really think that my wife would have to drive 6.5 hours to come pick me up and save me. But God's got my back in this. And as I began to reach out to some friends and colleagues for prayer, which is what we do, right? When we have faith, we don't think we have to go it alone. We don't think that just my prayer and I need to keep this quiet from everybody else, and I can't let anybody know that I'm in trouble. I'm having a hard time here today. And so as I reached out to friends and family for prayer and support, one of the organizations that I serve, the affiliated New Thought Network, the board has a discretionary fund. And the board got together behind my back. I'm on that board, by the way. They got together behind my back and voted to send me just about everything that I had spent during this experience. Pretty much covered everything. They didn't know exactly what the number was. I didn't know exactly what the number was going to be. But they dipped into that discretionary fund and said, we got your back. Now, I could look at that and say, that's just a group of people and a group of friends. It's not. It's it's God. So no matter what's going on in your life, if the doubt's creeping in, remember that the doubt is not there to knock you down. It's not there to prove your failure. It is there to prove your faith. Because when it comes right down to it, God's got your back in this. I can guarantee it. If you're in a place where you feel comfortable to close your eyes, I invite you to do so and join me in prayer this morning. What I know is I know there is only one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence, moving and breathing and having its being as all of life. My life, your life, the lives of the people I don't know, the lives of the people I don't like, or the people my humanness doesn't agree with. The oneness revealing itself as all of life. The mechanics and the salespeople, the woman at the counter, the person doing their crafts in a Ford dealership. The oneness reveals itself perfectly as all of life. And by perfect, I mean absolutely perfect. Whole, complete, nothing missing, nothing absent, nothing broken, nothing wrong. There is the opportunity here before us this day and every day to step into a complete and absolute sense of faith, and to allow our doubt to be the fuel that drives us into that faith. To remember that when things look the darkest, that is the supreme moment to do this work. To stand in truth, to stand as the truth and proclaim, I am the divine made manifest, and the divine is manifesting itself as my life. That everything is working out exactly as it must, even if I can't see it. That there is a divine power for good operating as my life, even if I don't recognize it in this moment. To know deep within that all is well and everything is working out for my highest and best good. That the events that are happening in my life are not about me, but they are for me. That the divine isn't threatened by my doubt. I am strengthened in my faith. when I speak my doubt and let it be real rather than pretend that it isn't true, rather than pretend that and perform some holy words. We serve at our best when we come to that place of trust and faith that all is well. This is the truth I know. I claim for each one here a deep sense of recognizing that truth operating within their own lives as their lives. Recognize this truth operating as your life right now, and that all is well. So with a grateful heart, I release this word into the universal creative law, the law of the universe, the law of the divine that is already operating upon this word, that cannot return this word void, that is already making this word true in form. I release this prayer into that law and I let it be. And I affirm that truth by simply saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Thanks, Dr. Robert. See you over on Zoom in just a minute. All right. So now it's time for our New Minister Sacred Covenant Easy Prayer. This is an abbreviated version that we have. You can get the full version on the website, cslmidtown.org. So you can read this with me. There is only one life. This life is God, and I am one with it. I know my new minister is a revelation of Spirit as principle, fulfilling God's promise. For principle is not bound by precedent, but it operates according to law for those who align with it. Together with my community, I see my new minister inspiring spiritual oneness through wisdom, love, and authenticity. One that is awakened to inner wisdom, communicates universal truth, and serves as a conduit of divine love, wisdom, and healing energy. One that recognizes the inherent wholeness within all beings and offers teachings grounded in spiritual principles to cultivate inner transformation. One that extends love, compassion, and Spirit's transformative power into the wider community, fostering connections that heal and uplift individuals in their unique journeys. As I accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know they will be revealed in a way that expresses Spirit and serves the highest good of all touched by their presence. I am grateful, God is good, and so it is. And so it's now time for our conscious giving, and I want to say something about this. We had our board meeting this last week, and going over the finances, we looked at it, and the treasurer plotted some graphs, and we came out, and we're about $100 a week, actually, $100 a week short of what we are to break even. So for those of you that are listening that maybe contribute sometimes, think about contributing more. It's a small amount, really, if you think about it, but all of us combining together to increase this giving would give us the break even. If you're spiritually fed by the work that we're doing here, by the talks that we have, like this amazing talk we had today, consider giving more. You can do that at cslmidtown.org/donate. Scan the QR code. And if you would say our affirmation of prosperity now. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. And all that I share with life returns to me, multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Got a couple of announcements. I want to thank Norma for being our practitioner today. Reverend Dr. Robert for being our speaker today. May is divined out, and next week we've got Miss Narissa Street as our speaker, and our talk's got a long title. Thomas was right. Doubt and its gift during upheaval and change. That should be very interesting. If you want to dive deeper into what we believe, Robert had talked about classes during his talk, and one of those things is just doing this. So with our adult study group that meets at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings before the service, you can join them on Zoom. You can get there by going to our website, cslmidtown.org. Scroll down, click the Zoom link. There's a passcode to get in, and you can join them for that discussion. They're going through the Science of Mind textbook, but you don't have to have read this week's section to join in the discussion. So that's available to anyone that would like to dive a little bit deeper into what Centers for Spiritual Living teaches and does and understands. So now, let's say our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. Have a great week, everybody.